Summer is finally here, and while every garden in my neighborhood is bursting with flowers, mine looked like an abundant jungle. After moving into this house, I simply didn't have the time to organize the garden. Wild plants had taken over, old decorations were forgotten in the dirt, and the whole space felt neglected. But instead of spending money on a complete garden renovation, I challenged myself to create a beautiful DIY garden makeover using what I already had. In today's garden transformation, I'll be turning this rusty old bird cage into a stunning garden decoration, recycling forgotten materials, propagating ivy cuttings, creating a stepping stone path, and bringing new life to this neglected outdoor space. Can a few hours of work and a little creativity complete the transform a messy garden? Let's find out! The first thing I needed to do was tame the wild jungle that had taken over the garden. I found these adorable little gardening tools at a secondhand market. The funny thing is, they had never been used before. They were still sparkling like new. After some trimming and cleaning, I finally had a blank canvas to work with. Next, I collected some white stones I found around the garden and arranged them into a curved path. The simple trick divided the area into two sections while also creating stepping stones. Before moving here, I had brought several potted flowers from my previous garden. I planted them in groups to create a fuller and more natural look. I especially love the graceful curves of this tree. And don't worry, I'm about to make it much happier. Now let's talk about the rusty white bird cage that had been sitting abandoned in the dirt. Today, it's getting a second chance. A little reincarnation project. Luckily, I still had some leftover dust-resistant black paint. I started painting the outside of the bird cage, but if you decide to try something similar, I recommend starting from the inside first. It makes the process much easier. For the details, I dab the paint on with a brush. If you prefer a more distressed look, you can lightly brush the surface instead and allow some of the original white color to show through. I really like this solution. What do you think? When we bought this house, this flower pot was sitting on a balcony filled with beautiful artificial flowers. Today, I decided to give some of them a new purpose. I also found this ivy growing on the stone wall of a nearby hotel. It was hanging out over the street, so I carefully took a few cuttings and placed them in water. Now they are ready for a new home. And here is the result. My garden feels so much cleaner, brighter, and more welcoming. Sometimes all it takes is a little effort, a little creativity, and a little love to completely transform a space. Because even the most neglected corners can become beautiful again.
I really like the last version of the bird cage. What do you think? Please write in the comments. So, if you do something like that, if you upcycle an abundant object in your garden, please send me your pictures. I would love to hear from you. So until next time, stay well!